Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Cooper Naylor Show. I'm Cooper Naylor, and I gotta say this. That is a great intro that I put together. But as you can see, I have a new microphone here. Um, because of college, I got my federal aid stuff in, and so I got some good new equipment here. So this is a new microphone, and I got a cord where now basically if Colton and Jack ever joins me for another video and they're both on at the same time, then I get it. All three of us could be in the same room at the same time. So I'm very happy for that. That now I got an ability to have three microphones on an A10 Mini that has two slots. So very happy for that. Folks, there's a lot going on in the world of sports. And today I just want to focus on two things, or maybe three things, really. First off, talk about the Super Bowl. And I know it's been a while since it happened, but we can talk about, it's been 2 weeks, but we can talk about the Super Bowl and what happened in it. Matt Patricia, the former NFL coach, he is now a defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll get into that a little bit. And then, of course, we will finish off by talking about the college football playoff. Some more interesting information coming out with that. So we'll dive into it. So first, let's talk about the Super Bowl. And, the Super Bowl is always, most of the time, people think of it, it's the best game of the whole season. It didn't turn out that way. 40-22, Philadelphia Eagles get the win. And let me tell you this right now. Sitting here and saying that it was only 18 points doesn't do the game justice, okay? This was a blowout of epic proportions. Philadelphia made the two-time defending Super Bowl champions look like, I hate to say it, but let's just say it for what it is. They looked like the Cleveland Browns out there. I don't want to pick on Cleveland, but they're the first team that really comes to mind. So you look at it, Kansas City played terrible in this football game. Philadelphia, though, and you got to give them credit, they came in with a mindset of, we've been disrespected. It is our time to go and basically shut people up. And that's what they did. So you got to give Philadelphia credit there. Jalen Hurts, he had a great game. And it's not like, because he wasn't really needed to throw the ball. Now, he made a lot of plays on the ground with his legs. And quite frankly, it's more about that run game. The run game did great for the offense of the Philadelphia Eagles. But ultimately, the biggest difference in this game was the fact that Philadelphia's defensive line, they made Patrick Mahomes' life terrible throughout this whole entire ball game. Mahomes, he didn't have time at all to sit in the pocket and make any passes. Plus, you could tell, really after that first quarter, they had him rattled, so they had won the game. So it's incredible to see what this Super Bowl looked like. And really, you got to ask yourself, did Kansas City deserve to be in that position, or was it more about the fact that they had some favorable calls and they found a way to get to the Super Bowl? Well, I'll tell you this. First off, and this is this is just me being honest with you. I picked Kansas City to win this game going into it because I had took the mantra of, until somebody beats Kansas City, I'm picking them to win. And I think that's a fair assessment from most everybody is, until somebody takes the champs down, you got to go with the champs. So I think it was a fair assessment of what was going on. But Kansas City, they just ran into a team that was better than them 2 weeks ago. And so it was a dominant performance from the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to give them credit. They did a great job. And so Philadelphia is your 2025 Super Bowl champions. That is crazy to think about. All right, let's talk about Matt Patricia for a few minutes. So Matt Patricia, if you remember, he got a head coaching job with the Detroit Lions, and then it didn't go well, fired. Of course, before that, he was the defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots under Bill Belichick. He was a good NFL coach as far as coordinator is concerned. He just wasn't that good of a coach when it comes to leading a team and being a head coach. He's going to college, be the defensive coordinator. I think this is interesting because you can see that Ryan Day has really gotten serious about going and getting some big names to be the coordinators. My only question is, because you just went from a guy like Jim Knowles, who was really good when it comes to scheming your defenses. What is this going to look like with Matt Patricia? It's definitely going to look a whole lot different. So I'm going to be very interested to see how this goes. In the end, you also consider the fact that you're still looking, I think it's Brian Hartline's going to be the offensive coordinator. So it's two different coordinators. And the big question is for Ohio State, can they reload with coaches just like Alabama did years ago? Because, I mean, if you remember Alabama with, when Saban was the coach, they had a lot of times where they had to go and replace both coordinators every single year. So can Ohio State replicate that success? We'll see. College football is definitely in an interesting spot here. And I think for a guy like Matt Patricia, had it been 10 years ago and he got offered this opportunity, I don't think he goes. But I think it's got a lot to do with the landscape of what college football is looking like today. College football today is, simply put, it is different than what it was 10 years ago. You got NIL, you have transfer portal. I mean, those two alone have definitely changed the landscape. It is a lot more replicable to the pro game than it is to an actual college game from 10 years ago. So when that's all said and done, I'm not shocked here that Matt Patricia took the job with Ohio State. But if it were 10 years ago, I don't think he takes it. So very interesting stuff coming out of Columbus, Ohio. And then finally, let's talk about the college football playoff, because this is interesting to note. When you look at the college football playoff right now, it's a 12-team format, right? Well, for this season, I'm thinking that it's sticking with the 12-team model. But 2026, folks, this is crazy. But 2026, I don't think there's any ands, ifs, or buts about it. The model will be expanding to either 14 or 16 teams into the college football playoff. Now, here is a caveat of what's going to happen. What is being proposed, which also you got to keep this in mind, because in the article, and I believe it's some guy from Yahoo Sports who put it out. Either way, the SEC and the Big Ten in 2026 basically take full control of what goes on in the college football playoff. You can't tell me that the Big Ten and the SEC are just stepping in line with everybody else. No, they're ahead of everybody else. They're the big dogs, and they're going to feast on everything they can. And you know what? Props to them for making it this way. Props to them. But the way that this is going to be set up is there's more than likely going to be guaranteed spots, more than what you think there is. So how's that going to work? Well, you're not doing this whole thing where the top 4 seeds are conference champions. That's gone. That is completely gone. So what's going to happen is you have a number of spots that are guaranteed. So the SEC and the Big Ten will get 4 each. That is what's being proposed. And then after that, every other conference, I believe ACC, Big 12 will most likely probably get like 2 guaranteed spots, maybe 1. I'm not sure how it's going to work. But it is going to change. The format's going to change. Do I think that this takes some controversy out of it? Sure. I think it actually kind of does. Because if you sit there and you say, okay, we're going to go off of conference standings and how you do in your conference. We're going to say that the top 4 teams from the conferences are going to go and play for the college football playoff national championship game. And it's not based off of how we feel. It's based off of how you do out on the field in your conference. That's fair. I think that's a fair assessment here. If you take the top 4 teams from the SEC, take the top 4 teams from the Big Ten, those 8 teams legitimately probably are the top 8 teams in college football, if we're being honest. Most years. Notre Dame, I mean, probably, I think the way, at least if it was me, I'm going to 14. I'm going to give 4 spots to the SEC, 4 spots to the Big Ten, and then I'm going to say Big 12, ACC, I'll get 2 each. So that right there is 12 spots. Then you're going to say we will give one open spot for anyone else that may be good enough to get in. And then we'll say that we'll say that a group of 5 champion gets in, and that's your 14. So when you get at that point, I think it's fair. I think it's fair because you can't really argue at that point. The SEC and the Big Ten, they will understand. We got our top 4 teams from our conference in here. We're good. If we get an extra team in there, good. But more than likely, that one open spot would probably go to Notre Dame, just with how Notre Dame is. So I think it's interesting to see that this is going to be evolving further. And quite frankly, don't just sit back and say, oh, well, it's done expanding. No, it's going to be further at some point, whether it's 2 or 3 years, whether it's 13 years. I'm just throwing out random numbers of years that it could be. But keep in mind that 2031 is when the playoff contract will end, the current one that they signed. A lot of conferences, their media deals go through early 2030s. Circle 2031 through like 2035, I would say, for your biggest realignment shift. And I know we had a big one in the 2020s, but get ready. This is going to be even bigger, folks, because you're going to see a seismic shift in college athletics. So, folks, I just want to do a short video here. I didn't want to do a whole long podcast episode. I just want to do a short one today. And so just to get back into it. I know I've not been posting a lot lately, but I just wanted to give a short little video. So, folks, thanks for watching. We'll see you again later. Goodbye.